Do you think we've been visited before by extraterrestrial tourists? Do you think little gray men walked the desert of New Mexico? There are answers out there, that much we know for certain. But there are those who want to cover up the truth, so we have to seek it. Buckle in, ghouls and goblins. Close the windows and curtains, because today we're going to blow this whole thing open. This is top 5 terrifying evidence aliens exist that the government tried to hide. As always, ghouls, I love to hear from you. Let me know if you've ever seen something weird in the sky you couldn't explain. Number 5. Gordon Cooper. Major Gordon Cooper was an astronaut and flying ace of considerable renown, with more than a few accolades to his name. Being the first man to spend a full 24 hours in space solo, and the last American to ever spend a solo orbit around the planet altogether. Besides these lofty accomplishments, he was also very vocal about his belief and insistence of life beyond the stars. He'd experienced many strange things over his career. First, when he was an Air Force pilot in 1951, he says on a routine flight over West Germany, he encountered 3 flying metallic saucers following his plane. The incident was reported and nothing was done. But this would be far from the last strange encounter Cooper would have. In 1963, after orbiting the planet, Cooper was returning home when he noticed a glowing green orb following his capsule, which he described as ethereal. The object was picked up by a radar tracking station in Australia. But most bizarre about all of this is that when Major Cooper touched down and returned home, reporters from NBC told him they were explicitly barred from asking any questions about the unidentified object he'd experienced. Beyond bizarre, isn't it? Cooper outright says he believes higher-ups covered it up, saying on record that in the USA every day our radar instruments capture objects of form and composition unknown to us. And there are thousands of witness reports and a quantity of documents to prove this, but nobody wants to make them public. Why? Because authority is afraid that people may think up God knows what kind of horrible invaders. We have to avoid panic by all means. Now, the implication in his words seem pretty direct, that he thinks the government covers it up because they think we can't handle it. I think we're ready. I mean, after the last couple years, I don't think there's any weirdness you can really throw at us. And if you're looking for great weirdness and great horror content every day, well, I can hook you up with that. All you gotta do is subscribe. Number 4. Ryan Graves. Now, for most of us, seeing a UFO would probably be the highlight of our life, or at the very least our week. But for Lieutenant Ryan Graves, a 10-year Navy veteran, seeing a UFO became a routine. On an interview with CBS on their 60 Minutes, Lieutenant Graves said that he saw UFOs every single day for years. He recounts his first encounter, where he was stunned, saying he saw a mysterious flying object trailing around him, with no markings on it, no exhaust plume, no trail of any kind. He described it as a flying black cube that appeared to have a sphere located inside of it. The pilots in Graves' squadron would report seeing these mysterious cubes constantly during their training exercise, even coming dangerously close to crashing into them and causing them to be labeled a threat. Graves said initially they were skeptical about them being alien craft, which is reasonable, and that his men had been assuming they were highly advanced drones being tested clandestinely. But as time goes on, Graves changed his tune, instead advocating for the discussion to be had about UFOs and if there's more to know out there. He wants to centralize the conversation around UFOs not being an outlandish conspiracy theory, but more of a security concern. But are they really, even? I mean, surely if there was alien life capable of provoking a conflict, they would have done it by now, right? Or perhaps these crafts were just scouts, or something else entirely. All I want to know is the truth. Number 3. Cosmonaut Kovalyonok. When you leave the atmosphere, you should expect to see some things you can't explain. I mean, it's up in space. Well, for Vladimir Kovalyonok, he was in orbit in the summer of 1978. He saw something that would alter his perception of reality forever. He claimed that he saw some floating entity following around the space station, reporting a glowing green ethereal orb, exactly like what Major Gordon Cooper claims to have seen following his capsule. Much like Major Cooper, that wouldn't be the only supernatural extraterrestrial experience Kovalyonok experienced. In 1981, on another voyage through the stars, he saw something unimaginable. He claims that he saw something floating around, resembling a barbell. He said that it was transparent, but that it looked like it had a body inside of it. It did something that is very difficult for me to describe in the point of view of physics. He describes the entity exploding magnificently, combusting an array of golden light, which he described as beautiful. After the explosions, there was a cloud of white smoke and a small sphere, but as they continued orbiting, the smoke and sphere vanished entirely. He goes on to say that he doesn't think whatever he saw was artificial, and that it must have been biological in some way, that it moved in a way that intoned life of some kind. Kovalyonok was surprised that his fellow cosmonauts did not seem willing to entertain the possibility of it being life from outside the planet, outright dismissing his claims. He's been quoted saying, "Many cosmonauts have seen phenomena which are far beyond the experiences of Earthmen. For 10 years, I never spoke on such things." When he returned home, there were brief investigations that possibly what Kovalyonok saw was little more than a missile test. And after these brief investigations, the case and the sighting was dropped entirely. Number 2. Hack the planet. Now it's frustrating, I'm sure, to think that there could be answers for the unexplained out there, and no one is willing to share them with us out of fear we'd react badly. For one Gary McKinnon, this unknowing was simply too much to bear, and he decided to get the answers the only way he knew how, the easy way, hacking directly into NASA's servers to get at their data. Why would he do that? Why would he risk his whole life and career for this? For the truth, directly. From McKinnon's own mouth, he said, "I knew that governments suppressed anti-gravity UFO-related technologies, free energy, or what they call zero-point energy. This sort of thing should not be kept hidden from the public when pensioners can't pay their fuel bills." So did he find anything worth risking his freedom for? Well, according to Mr. McKinnon, yes he did. He claims to have found something called the Disclosure Project, a 400-page document outlining testimonials from all kinds of government agents reporting their sightings and findings on unexplained objects. Fantastically too, Mr. McKinnon claims that he got a hold of a document entitled Non-Terrestrial Officers, listing the names of NASA officers who were to be transferred to new ships. However, McKinnon stated that he could not find the name of any of these ships existing anywhere elsewhere. McKinnon, as well, presumably incredibly satisfied with his findings, vandalized one of NASA's websites, leaving behind a message saying, "Your security is crap, by the way." Utterly hilarious, but it did come back to bite him, as the white hat hacker was swiftly arrested and was to be extradited to the United States to stand trial there. Now the 56-year-old managed to avoid extradition. He still lives in the United Kingdom today, but he's definitely going to want to avoid visiting the US anytime soon, as I sincerely doubt they've forgotten about that little bit of vandalism. Number 1. The UAP report. Well, it's hard-pressed to find any more clear-cut proof that the US government has been researching aerial phenomena and UFOs than the US government outright admitting they've been researching UFOs and aliens for years and releasing all of the documents about it kind of quietly, sliding it underneath the door. Now the actual idea of the report sounds significantly more exciting than it actually is, sadly. It's still very cool, don't get me wrong. But the Pentagon's UAP report isn't quite the smoking ray gun we would hope it is. It doesn't outright blatantly confirm anything. It doesn't point to one flying saucer with a big red circle and say, "Hey, this is an alien, we know this is an alien, we asked for its name, it came from St. Helos and it comes in peace." Instead, the report highlights the hundreds of documented official reports of strange occurrences pilots and other government agents have seen in their service. The report confirms it's something we're looking at. It's done wonders to legitimize the talk around UFOs. First and foremost, to change the nomenclature from UFO, unidentified flying object, to UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, including the possibility of non-technological flying things. The report focuses primarily on whether or not repeated sightings of mysterious crafts are a threat or dangerous, which is a bit reductive, I think. Why do we have to assume aliens are a threat to us? Now, this isn't the first time the government has put direct resources into researching the possibility of alien life. Most famously probably is Project Blue Book, a CIA task force that ran from 1952 to 1959. But this is the first time an agency has been so outright forthcoming about sharing their findings with the public, renewing interest in UFO and UAPs. It's a very strong path forward to legitimate discussions, finding, and who knows what else. Well, that's all for this video, my little ghouls and goblins. Thanks so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Creep it real.